But for now, I'm gonna be spending most of my time on land because I've got some good news. I am finally opening my trampoline gym to the public. That's right, you're finally gonna be able to come jump and hang out at the Flip Pad.
I think I need a plan.
For our business hours and more information, just visit tburger.com or follow the Flip Pad on Instagram. Woo! With that said, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one or at the Flip Pad. Let's go!
Jose Alvarenga was lost at sea for 438 days and survived. In 2012, Jose and his new first mate, Ezequiel Cordoba, set out on a 30-hour deep-sea fishing expedition off the coast of Mexico. 2 days after leaving shore, the men were caught in a powerful storm that blew them 50 miles out to sea. Fortunately, Jose had a two-way radio with a weak signal. He called his boss back on shore begging for help. He was assured a rescue party was on its way. Then the storm suddenly picked up and violently pounded their boat for 5 more days and nights, shaking the 25-foot vessel as they drifted further and further from shore. The rescue called off after just 2 days because of the ferocious wind and rain. Once the storm let up, Jose and Ezequiel realized they not only didn't know where they were, but nearly all their electrical and motor equipment was destroyed. Nobody was coming to save them. Jose and Ezequiel were left floating in the Pacific Ocean all alone. Days turned to weeks, and weeks turned to months. Food was not plentiful, but did come their way, with the men regularly grabbing raw turtles, birds, jellyfish, and other creatures from the sea. Remember, consuming raw animals while lost at sea is especially dangerous, not just for the bacteria and parasites, but also from potential toxins created by rapidly proliferating blue-green algae that can build up in tissues of those animals. When it came to drinking water, they captured as much rain as they could, but when that ran out, they resorted to drinking turtle blood or their own urine. This is important medical information here. Despite Bear Grylls doing this on TV, it is not advised to drink your own urine, as it's rich in minerals that will only speed up the dehydration process. In fact, the Army Survival Manual states to never use alcoholic beverages, urine, blood, or seawater as water substitutes. 4 months into their seemingly endless drift, Ezequiel lost all hope. He gave up eating and succumbed to starvation. Experts really can't say how long humans can live without food, as it's not an ethical area to study. But some research on individuals participating in hunger strikes and those trapped or buried gives us a rough estimate of 8 to 12 weeks. 6 days later, Jose released Ezequiel overboard, weeping over the loss of his friend. But he never gave up hope. Finally, 438 days into this horrific ordeal, Jose spotted a small patch of land on the horizon. He decided now was his chance. He dove overboard and swam to shore to a tiny tropical island known as Tile Islet in the Marshall Islands, where he was spotted by 2 locals. This was his first human contact in nearly a year. He was rushed to a hospital where doctors diagnosed him with anemia, suspected to have been caused by the frequent consumption of raw marine animals, leading to parasitic infection of his liver. Jose recovered, boarded a plane, and flew 6,000 miles home. Harrison Okene spent 60 hours trapped in an air pocket on the ocean floor and survived. In the middle of the night in 2013, a tugboat off the coast of Nigeria was on the way to an oil tanker when it capsized in surprisingly rough seas. Incredibly, Harrison, the boat's cook, happened to be awake using the restroom. Because of advanced locks on the ship's doors, meant to deter pirates, Harrison was unable to escape the capsized vessel. He was trapped in a small bathroom as the ship took on water and began to sink. Fortunately for Harrison, the door locks wound up saving his life. As the ship sank deeper into the grim depths of the ocean, Harrison remained safe inside an air bubble that had been trapped inside with him. Eventually, the sinking stopped, and Harrison realized he was now submerged into pitch black on the ocean floor. Any attempt to escape the ship at this point would result in Harrison drowning or suffering the consequences of water pressure at 100 feet. Quick ascension from 100 feet depth would put him at incredibly high risk of pulmonary barotrauma, bursting his lungs, or decompression sickness, where dissolved nitrogen air can bubble out, leading to joint pain, neurologic injury, or even death. All Harrison could do was sit in the darkness and pray. Above the surface, a team had been assembled to find the wreck and retrieve the believed to be dead crew. This unfortunately didn't happen quickly, as Harrison sat at the bottom of the ocean for 60 hours before miraculously the hand of a rescue diver emerged from the water. The diver quickly assessed Harrison's condition, and things were not looking good. After breathing the same air for nearly 3 days, Harrison was falling victim to carbon dioxide poisoning. Every time he would breathe, he would take in some of that precious trapped oxygen, but then he would expel more carbon dioxide. In fact, experts believe that if he was trapped for longer than 60 hours, it would have been the carbon dioxide buildup and toxicity that would have been the cause of his death rather than running out of oxygen. Harrison eventually surfaced with the help of a diving bell, or a mobile pocket of air, allowing for a gradual return to the surface at a consistent pressure. He was then placed in a decompression chamber for 3 days, which allowed his body to gradually adjust to the surface level pressures. Harrison went on to receive his official license and now works as a deep sea diver himself. Fang Lang witnessed the Titanic sink into the frigid, dark depths of the Atlantic Ocean and survived. In April 1912, Fang Lang boarded the RMS Titanic, headed for New York City, where he was contracted to work as a fireman on another ship headed towards Cuba. As the infamous story goes, on April 14th at 11:40 p.m., the Titanic struck an iceberg. Over the course of just a few hours, the largest ship in history sank, bringing 1,500 passengers and crew along with it. But not Fang Lang. Fang was not lucky enough to leave the Titanic aboard a dry lifeboat. Instead, Fang found himself diving off the ship and floating for his life within the bitterly cold ocean. It's estimated the water temperature that night was around 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And look, despite the popularity of ice baths, floating in freezing water post-shipwreck is incredibly deadly, with immersion hypothermia setting in after just minutes, and 15 to 45 minutes before the brain and heart ultimately can stop. It's unknown exactly how long Fang was floating in the ocean, but he held on while passengers were lost to the cold water around him. Eventually, a lifeboat came back and rescued Fang as he was on the brink of death. Fang then sat shivering in the lifeboat for several hours until the Carpathia rescued 700 survivors early the next